everybody, this is Joe, aka Cinco Doggos, coming to you with another edition of the Bitcoin Mining Show brought to you by Altair Technology. This week, we are talking with someone who I follow on X and interact with his stuff a lot because he does a lot of cool stuff. And if you follow them on X, then you probably have seen it. So here we are at block height, which just hit 952249. Maripool got that one. Won't comment on that. But here we are with Mr. Ryan Blass from Karpuz Mining. Mr. Blass, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks.
It's very
man.
official. I like that intro. You got this dialed in.
Thank you. I had a little bit of practice with it now that we've done it a few times.
You're getting it. Sounds like a pro, man.
I try from my, you can't see it because I got the background, but I'm pretty much sitting here in my garage right now. All of my big boy miners are turned off right now though, because it's a little loud when I have them on and I'm trying to.
It's the scream of the fans.
Exactly. Yeah, I've got the gammas down in front of me. You can't really hear those, so they just stay running all the time because they're quiet, and the Nano 3Ss. But yeah, so anyway, I can go on forever with that, so I won't. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into this. This. If you don't mind, for anyone who's watching this that might be hiding under a rock and doesn't know who you are, can you please explain?
That's probably a lot of people.
Right. Can you tell us who you are and a little bit about your operation?
Well, my name is Ryan Blass. I have a company called Karpuz Mining, and I also have a company called BlockFound. And Karpuz Mining kind of started out just as a fun project I kind of got into when after my kids were born. My wife had a little late life surprise. We had twins unexpectedly. And so I suddenly found myself with a lot more time at home, trying to be the family man, being here for my wife and my children and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I just started kind of making stuff and doing stuff, and Karpuz Mining was kind of born. Now it's evolved into this thing and doing about 50 things. I got my hand in 20 pots spinning and stirring things up, trying to do as much as I can and having a lot of fun. It's awesome.
That's kind of a thing with Bitcoin miners that I've noticed is a lot of us have that same like just do it, want to build, want to create, want to tinker attitude, right? Like right behind me right now, I've got 4 3D printers running on different projects, some personal, some for other people that have said, can you print this for me? So I print them stuff. I've got that going. I've got boards waiting to be soldered on a workbench behind me. I've got probably 10 miners over here that are in various states of Frankenstein. That's pretty common what I've seen with a lot of the folks we talk to.
I think you start out with this enthusiasm for these things. You'll get your first miner or two, and you get the thing, and it's this inanimate object on your shelf. And so you've got this enthusiasm, but what are you going to do? Sit on the couch and watch the fan spin around all day? And so it kind of inspires this journey of learning that generally inspires this journey of tinkering and modding. And then for some of us, building and creating, and just kind of goes from there.
Yeah, exactly. And on that note, what kind of brought you into this? Like, how did you discover Bitcoin? When did you get into mining? What was your adventure on that?
So I got into Bitcoin, really kind of got into Bitcoin about 10 years ago. And a lot of that was through just being fascinated and then the trading side of it. So for the last decade or so, I've been involved on and off with the trading portion of things. And it wasn't until my children were born that I really got into the mining side. And that kind of started, do you remember that Mars lander that Bitcoin Merch was selling when that thing came out probably 2-3 years ago? Uh-huh. I saw one of those things and I was like, what the hell is that? And it just I went down the rabbit hole. Started learning all about Bitaxe and some of these devices. And I thought, you know what? I want to get a few of these things and play around with them. And so I did. And 1 became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 10. And all of a sudden I was ripping them apart, changing stuff out, playing with things, and just trying to learn as much as I could about all of it.
That's awesome. Now, on that note, like, do you have a background with anything involving that, like engineering background or any type of, technical background, or has this just been strictly hobbyist for you?
No, my background professionally, I'm a developer. So I've been a developer for the last 20 years. And then, I used to build motorcycle engines. It's kind of this combination between liking to tinkering and, building things and rip things apart. And then, of course, the dev and the tech side of it. And so this, for me, kind of combined all these things that I really liked and was good at. And so it was just this thing that I loved because it, again, kind of took all these things that I already enjoyed, that I was already kind of fascinated with and curious about. And it's all merged into one thing with the mining stuff, and just kind of took off with it.
That's awesome. And I know, like you said a little bit ago, you also have the block found area of it. And you and I talked a little bit behind the scenes. And I really think what I'd like to do, if you're comfortable with this, is we'll touch on it a little bit today. But I know
Sure.
you have a partner with that. And I think I want to have you guys back like in a week or two, and we'll
That'd be great.
focus solely on that. Are you okay with that?
There's so much to talk about with that
Cool.
stuff. So absolutely.
Right on. Okay, cool. Because I'm excited about that too. So definitely want to do that. All right, cool. So moving on, then we'll kind of focus on like the
Sure.
mining and mining hardware stuff, because you do some neat
Absolutely.
stuff with that. Um, let's see here. Was there a specific moment that, like in the Tinkers, like you said, two become four, four become 10. Next thing you know, you're ripping them off, changing out thermal paste, putting better fans on things. Was there a moment where you decided, like, you know what, this is cool and I can do even more than this?
Definitely. So when I started messing around with the NerdQAxe there was an article posted by Plebbase where he was taking the thing and trying to get 10 terahashes a second out of it. So he put a cooler on it. He was installing the that 120 mod that he did, that Helix mod, and just really started pushing the thing. And I wanted to kind of do the same. And that's when I got into designing the 3D parts. And that's kind of where Karpuz Mining was built. So Karpuz Mining was really just a project. It had no intent of being a business when it started out. I was just creating 3D parts. I was putting those up for sale, or for free rather, to the community to enjoy, and just kind of tinkering with stuff and making stuff and trying to make things better that already existed and just giving that stuff away. And it wasn't until there were a lot of guys that were like, hey, I would love to have this stuff, but I don't have a 3D printer. And so I started selling some of that and then adding to things along the way. But, really kind of realizing that I could make things that weren't there. This isn't something that's been taken over by big corporations yet. And the thing that I love so much about this space is that you have the small builder can still make a very big impact. And so there's these things where, when it comes to the iPhone, as a for instance, we're all waiting for the new iPhone to come out. We're waiting for a new car to come out. Well, in this case, we don't have to wait because we can make these things ourselves. We can make our own miners. We can make our own parts. We can do our own things, especially with all the AI and 3D printers and all the resources that are available now and tools that we can use. The world's kind of your oyster if you've got some imagination. And so you can kind of take this stuff and absolutely run with it. And that's the cool part. It's
Love
exciting
it,
about it.
man. I love it. That's perfect. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. You're absolutely right. So many different things people are doing out there with it. It's everywhere. Like everywhere I look, all the people I follow on Twitter, and various other things, it's a lot of makers, a lot of builders. And I just see all these cool things that are constantly coming out that people do. And it blows my mind, because I don't feel I'm really like a creative person. I try to be, but I'm not that creative. But like when there's a problem, it just gets solved. Somebody brings something up in the Bitcoin mining sphere. It says like, hey, what about this? And next thing you know, there's three people saying, hey, you know what? I think we figured out a way to do that.
That's the
So
thing
cool.
too. The side of this that I love so much, from just even the solo mining aspect, you get these huge groups, whether it's on Discord or Facebook or Reddit or wherever else. It's this very communal thing, despite the fact that it's a solo activity by nature. But once you get into the building side, there are so many people that are willing to just jump in. Hey, I've done this before. Why don't you try this? Or why don't you try that? And so there's this incredible support throughout the community. I mean, there's 100 different people I can reach out to at any time, and do on a very regular basis. When I have questions, I want to bounce ideas off someone, and I always try to do the same for other people. And so it's this very strong, supportive community, and that helps guys. You don't have to figure it out all by yourself, because you have these guys that are more than willing to jump in and more than willing to kind of help get you pointed in the right direction, help you source parts, whatever the case is. And so it's one of the things that just really adds to it and makes it awesome.
100%, man. 100%. And you're right. And it keeps getting better. Like even now things are, there's a lot of doom and gloom going on media right now, with the
I don't
price
buy
of
into it.
Bitcoin. Yeah, I don't either. I just look at it as coupon days, things like that. But, at the same time, you look at the miners and we're like, in about 10 days, I'm looking over here at my mempool on my node. We're looking at about a 10% downturn in difficulty here in 10 days. That sounds like a time to turn on some extra miners to me. That's
Right.
how I look at it. But yeah. Okay. So Karpuz Mining. When I looked up, because I was like Karpuz, the first thing that popped into my head, I don't know why, I thought it was like a Nordic rune name, like a Karpuz, because it's very similar. And then I looked it up and said, no, it means watermelon. And then I looked at your website and I see the little watermelon in the corner.
Yeah,
Is that what the name comes from?
it does. So my family is German and Turkish, and my children watch a cartoon called Karpuz Adam, which is it's Watermelon Man. He's this mischievous little watermelon guy.
Okay.
And so I adopted this little watermelon character for the project as it started out. And obviously it was an easy domain name to get, Karpuz Mining. Nobody's using that.
Mm.
And so while the vast majority of people, unless they're Turkish or speak Turkish, they have no idea what it means, it's immediately recognizable now as me. And people refer to me as Karpuz sometimes and all this other stuff, which is kind of funny.
Hi, watermelon.
So yeah, that's what it comes from. But nobody knows how to pronounce it either. They say all kinds of all different Karpuz and all kinds of stuff like that. But Karpuz, that's how you say it. So.
I love it. I love it. That's cool. Yeah, no, that's neat, and it's cool because it ties back to your heritage and all that. So I can imagine that you have very particular taste in doner kebab, being German and Turkish, huh?
Oh yeah,
yeah. I figured.
They say the best donors in Germany actually now. There's so many Turkish people that moved there. All the young people moved to Europe. So,
Yep. No, but my wife and my daughter actually were military family. They spent a lot of time in Germany.
Oh, nice.
So my wife, when she hears doner kebab, she kind of her ears will perk up. That or currywurst, her ears perk up. So, but anyway,
there's no good stuff. I live in Florida part of the time. We split time between Florida and over in Turkey, and there's no good food around here. There's one spot you can go up in Tampa. Other than that, we got to make it ourselves.
That's it, right?
Life's rough, man. It's rough down here in Florida.
We get some over here where I'm at. It's a very German part of Texas, and they have a big twice a year a German festival in my hometown actually. And there's this food truck that'll come that my wife will swear by, and that's the only one. When that comes around, she's like, we got to go because they got the best doner kebabs and currywurst. So it's okay. So that's how I learned about it. But anyway, I'm sidetracking. I'm sorry. So that's a cool story though about how you got the name. I like how it links up to your who you are, and it's kind of cool. I like the little guy with the little watermelon with his
my childish little cartoon that I use with his little pickaxe and all that stuff. But I like the watermelon.
Hey man, I got a husky on mine, so everybody. I've had so many people say they won't interact with me on stuff because they think I'm a Bitcoin mining furry, and I'm like, I'm not a furry. I have dogs.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here. Do you have 5 dogs?
I do actually. Yes, that's where the name comes from. And it's
psychic intuition I got.
Right, and it's weird. Just real quick before we get on with this, and the reason why it's Cinco Doggos is because it always seems we have 5 dogs. If one of our dogs passes away from old age or whatever, within months another one just shows up at our house. It's very weird. We always have 5 dogs for 20 years. It's been like this. So
all huskies.
Not right now. My Gordy, that's who this is. That's Gordy. He's laying on the floor. You can't see him by me right now. He's the smartest husky I've ever had. He's my only husky right now. Everyone else is kind of a bunch of mutts.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Huskies are cool.
Yep. I love my huskies. Okay. Sorry. I was sidetracking there.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Living up, and I hear thunder. If I disappear, Ryan, that's because the Bitcoin gods do not want us to talk after everything we went out.
No kidding.
So, okay, so you spent a lot of time focused on home mining and home miners. Is home mining, in your opinion, still important in a world increasingly dominated by industrial scale mining operations? This is a question 100%. I've had for a lot of people recently.
Well, I think how we define home mining has really changed, because I think home mining, Bitcoin started out, it was all home mining and small miners. As of recently, we tend to think of home mining as guys with a Nano 3S or a Bitaxe or something like that. But I think a lot of that has changed because there has been a rise in popularity for guys to have hosted miners. And those hosted miners, they're still part of your mining fleet. They just live at Terra hosting or wherever else. Mm-hmm. And so you're now able to have a significant hash rate, but do it from the comfort of your home. But you don't necessarily have to deal with things like the heat, the noise, and things like that. And so I think it's going to be increasingly important. And I think it's wild to see how fast this has all grown. I mean, even using like the Facebook Bitaxe group as a reference. I started out in that group. I think I joined it a year or two ago. There's maybe 1,000 people in it. Now there's almost 20,000. And of course, every time somebody hits a block, there's just more people come flooding in. Right. Because they're like, you're telling me I can go buy something for $200 and I can make the money to buy a Ferrari or something? And it's there's not a lot of things like that aside from a lottery ticket or whatever else. And so that's bringing a lot of people in. There's this kind of natural like progression that takes place. You get guys that start out with a Bitaxe. It doesn't really quench the thirst, so they get some more, and the next thing you know, they're building things like Ganavel on Q. They're building things like these Erlachers and stuff like that. Then the next thing they know, they've got half a dozen 21 XPs at Terra hosting or something somewhere. And so I think seeing that continue to grow, I mean, it's going to take a long time before home miners start to kind of reclaim some of that network hash rate because it is dominated like crazy by these huge centralized mining groups and all that now. But um, some of that may get shaken up. I see this madness with the Bitcoin dip and all that. Just a lot of people see that as a bad thing, especially guys that have significant portions of their wealth tied up in Bitcoin. But from our standpoint, I think if it drops a little bit, it could be a good thing because it can shake things up a little bit. You're going to get some of these bigger players, these kind of Wall Street type, Wall Street backed mining facilities that drop out of the race because they're no longer profitable.
Mhm.
And it kind of leaves some room for the home miners to start to kind of reclaim some of that. And so um, I think it's 100% important. I think it's going to continue to grow, and I think home miners are going to continue to see more of an impact than we've ever seen since the beginning. And so it's a really interesting time to be involved with all this. It's as you know, it's changing so much. The whole landscape's changing. The devices are changing. The way that we interact with all this stuff is changing, and um, and it's all leading in a really positive direction overall. I think so. That's cool. But it's a fun ride to be on.
Yeah, man, absolutely agree. And like we were talking about a little earlier, I think that all the innovation that goes on, it's just going to keep happening, and that's going to drive it as well. I talk to people just like you, I'm sure. I talk to people online constantly that are
Sure.
like you said, like, oh, like I can just buy one of these things and I can make money. And it's like, well, there's a little more nuance to that, but
Right.
by and large, yes, that's the opportunity you're stepping into for your 60, $70 you get with your Bitaxe or your
Sure.
couple $100 on your Nano 3S or whatever, right? And right, and I think what we're seeing right now is and I keep looking at my mempool, that's why I'm turning to the side here. I think what we're probably seeing right now is some of these big players are pivoting to maybe turning that power over to AI computing right now
Right.
because they don't feel it's as profitable. It's gone under their break even. So more opportunity for those of us that keep the machines on. You're absolutely right.
Sure.
So, okay. Let me see here. Do you think the average Bitcoin enthusiast underestimates what can be accomplished with a small home mining setup?
Um, I think the average Bitcoin mining enthusiast, you know, it's is just starting to really get an understanding of what this all means and the impact that they have. And again, a lot of that has to do with the progression of this because when guys get into this, it tends to be from that virtual lottery ticket thing or
Mhm.
electronic lottery ticket. That's what this is. And it's not until they understand what having a node really is. You're part of the network. You are decentralizing the network. You're strengthening the network. You are part of the network. All you have to do is run a Bitcoin node on an old mini PC or wherever the case is. And so I think as people start to, they start out on this journey, they probably don't know a whole lot, but again, it kind of inspires this journey of learning in a lot of ways. And once they start to dive into this stuff, I think they start to realize the impact that they have, and then a lot of times go wild with it, and then increase that impact, of course.
Mhm.
So,
Definitely. Yeah.
kind of a roundabout way of answering the
No,
question.
no, that's I think it's fairly accurate though. I mean, people start off on a path and then some people stay on that path and they're at where they're at and that's comfortable for them. Some people drop off the path and then others hop on it and start grabbing other people and running down that path with them. So,
It's
true.
interesting because you can see like, dots on a map that indicate where all the nodes are that are online, or at least the ones that are reporting.
Mhm.
And if you could do the same thing with home miners, it would be kind of like watching that map during COVID time when it was showing all those red dots of like reported COVID cases.
Mhm.
I think if we were able to see that and really visualize it somehow, to see all the new home miners that are coming online, it would be awesome because
Mhm.
again, it's like these red dots would start popping up everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah,
And
everywhere.
and it's this amazing thing. So
Mhm. No, agree with you. And it's with some of my other stuff I do with Bitcoin, I get to interact with folks that are all around the globe. And like even folks in Iran right now, we'll get people in a Telegram channel that I'm in and they'll be like, "Hey, need some help. How do I VPN to still get on and do things?" And there's people jumping right in there like, "Let's help you keep your miners online." Like
yeah.
it's this worldwide community and all these people, I'm brand new to this. I'm in wherever. Can somebody help me? Yeah, sure. Let's get you going, bud. And it's great. So you're right. It's everywhere and it's growing, and that's a great thing. So
It's the coolest thing when guys really start to understand that so long as there's one node running, that's all it takes, just one node.
mhm,
And then every time there's another node, it just continues to exponentially strengthen this thing. And that's when people really start to understand the impact. And that's when I think it gets really cool because, again, it doesn't take much to really be a significant part of Bitcoin and the whole experience of Bitcoin. So,
mhm. Absolutely. There's projects out there that have done some things that have also grown it. Like I'm gonna I'm gonna throw this out there. People know my feelings about it, but like Parasite Pool, right? So Parasite Pool, whether you hate them or you like them, the fact is it's a community of guys
Right.
that were into one thing and they said, you know what, we should mine. And they did it together. And now they have their own pool. They have these like days where they get together to make sure they're throwing hash at it. It
Right.
yeah, so like and that's just an example right there of the Bitcoin community where, hey, people will do this stuff. And if you get into it, there's no stopping it. There's
I
no
could not understand Parasite Pool for the life of me. I'm like, why in the world? You're telling me. So I'm going to give up the vast majority of my block reward, or best case scenario, I'm going to get a small fraction of someone else's reward, which isn't much unless you've got a significant hash rate pointed at this thing all the time. But it wasn't really until I understood the community aspect of it.
Mhm,
It's these guys, they're in a Discord server together. They are always cheering each other on. They've got
mhm,
this huge community on X. And once I really started to understand that, I'm like, okay, that's what it's about.
right?
So at face value, again, it's confusing because it doesn't seem like it kind of seems like the worst of both
It's like,
worlds in
"What?"
some ways.
Yeah.
But when you realize again that that's what it's all about, and I think that's kind of a microcosm for the community as a whole.
Mhm.
And uh and seeing that and seeing how tight those guys are and some of the things where they rent hash rate and all that stuff, it's very, very cool to watch. I had to point some hash rate over there just because I know a lot of the guys and had to just a little bit of a few terahashes just to be a
Mhm.
part of it because I know some good guys that I like on X and they're really big into the stuff. So
Yep, and there are some good and again, no matter what side of the whole knots, BIP 110 debate you're on, ordinals and things
that
on the
gets
EV.
ugly.
Yeah, it gets ugly, right? But even that, like, and people know this if they've watched my other stuff I do on Wednesdays with Midweek Mining. I'm not a fan of the stuff on the chain. That's just me. But they're miners. So to
Right.
me, that trumps anything, and I will always support other miners. So that's more important to me than anything else. So like I've got no problem telling people like, yeah, I'm okay with Parasite Pool being there because there are
Yeah.
other miners and they're helping the network and we're all helping each other. So yeah,
It's such a
that's the
I
beauty.
try to stay clear of this debate because it's such an ugly and I see both sides of it, I really
Mhm,
do. On one hand, I'm very big into things like anti-censorship and
mhm.
freedom to do things and all that. On the other hand, seeing some of the stuff that's get dumped onto the chain and the file storage aspect of it, I'm not a fan of that at all. So
Yeah. So
it's I definitely see both sides, and
it's a
it gets to
weird,
be
yeah.
it's hard because there's really no middle ground to
Mhm,
this. It's one or the other, and I don't know which way it's going to go.
mhm.
So
Yep. The good thing about it is that as long as we're all fighting about it in here in the Bitcoin space, then Bitcoin survives because Bitcoin gets stronger from it. That's the way I see
right.
it. So yeah. And yeah, that's a whole debate that we've tried not to get involved in yet because it's like dodging bullets. So
It's the Democrat Republican. You
so it is.
signal a little bit of support for one side,
That's
automatically
it.
it's going to
Mhm.
hate you. So all
Yeah.
I say is I understand both sides, and I'm just kind of quietly watching on the sidelines. I don't make any big decisions, not anybody important anyway. So
Right? Just
I got
what's
nothing
good
to
for
do with it.
me and mine, right.
That's right.
All right, so moving on, we'll get out of that minefield. So what are the most and here, this is another question that I like to ask multiple guests because everybody seems to have different answers.
Sure.
Um, what are the most common mistakes you see new miners when they get started? Like we're talking about the guy who just learns about, you know, Bitcoin
Oh,
mining, I can do it from my house. What is a common mistake you see them make?
looking for a lucky pool. That's the search for the lucky pool and flocking to any pool where a miner hits. And we try to beat this into people's head. There is no such thing as pool luck. It doesn't exist. You find the best pool with the best connection that's got a reliable uptime. That's all that matters. But I constantly see it's the number one question the new guys ask. What's the best pool to mine to? Well, of course, your own node. That's going to be the best.
Mhm.
Legacy wise, obviously, you can keep the manage the uptime and all that stuff. Doesn't get any better than that. But that is by far the number one thing people ask. The other thing I see too a lot of is that there's this big thing with the whole Bitaxe thing. I love the Bitaxe. I think the Bitaxe is one of the coolest devices that exists. I got this. It says running out of time here. I think because I had you join my meeting,
Ah.
we're running short on time, so it may cut us off here. That says we got 10 minutes to go.
If
So
it does, then we'll just switch over to mine. I've
okay,
got the premium. So
cool. The Binax is one of my favorite devices on planet Earth. So I don't mean to bash it. I have a ton of them. You can't see this, but there are these shelves around my desk, and they're quietly humming away all around this scene right here. One thing I see guys do though is they buy way too many of them. You get guys that buy 20 of these things, and there are so many devices that I think are so much better, and there's such Such a better value for the money, in terms of cost per hash rate. And I think, I know Avril has mentioned several times, buying a ton of these things is kind of like staying at that kindergarten level when they're really designed to be this gateway drug, if you will,
Hmm.
into mining. They're to get you into it, they're to get you to learn about it, but they're to get you to advance to that next level. So something like an Avalon Q, something like an Erlacher, and then, get into something like a hosted miner. And I realize there are some guys, especially guys who live over in the UK, these guys are spending tons of money. It's like, it equates to something like 30 cents per kilowatt hour or whatever the
Hmm.
case is. They're probably not going to run a modded amp miner or an Avalon Q. So for them, it's fun to add a few extra bit axes or whatever to the mix because they
Right.
want to increase their chances or whatever of mining a block. And I think that's great. But those are probably the two biggest things that I see. Again, the chasing pool luck thing, that's a huge one. The other thing is going too crazy with these fan mods, trying to get these things as cool as they can possibly get them. And we always try to explain that too. There's two reasons we put a giant fan on a NerdQAxe Plus Plus. It's number one, is to keep it in that safe range when you're overclocking it. Number two, is to keep it quiet when you're not overclocking it. And so if you've got 15 fans on the thing and a bunch of, desktop fans surrounding it trying to keep the thing at 20 degrees Celsius, that's way too cold. It doesn't need to be like that. So
Mm.
those are probably the three biggest ones, and obviously those are, one is like hardware related, one's like, your pool related stuff, and the other one's more philosophical and about the evolution of the mining journey and all that. But those are the things that I see are the most prevalent by far, and it's always the same that just keep popping up and popping up in the space. So, but guys learn eventually.
Accurate. I think that's good advice. I wouldn't change a thing talking to a new person with that. So I think you're on point with that. Okay, so and piggybacking on that, so if somebody has
Sure.
a limited budget, we'll say someone has a $300 budget, okay, um, and they wanted to get into mining today. What would you point them at to get started?
Nano
And
3S, Nano 3S all day. Nano 3S and maybe something like a Bitaxe Duo or something. I know those are really cool devices. Those are the unsung hero of the Bitaxe world because the hash rate, no, it's nowhere near what you can get with something like a Gamma Turbo, and they're both dual chip miners. The Duo though is very efficient. It's very quiet. It's cool because it looks like the classic Bitaxe, but it's got those two BM1370s on it. So
Mhm.
it's just like this updated version of the Icon, and I love it. I think it's just a really cool device. The Nano 3S is so easy. My grandmother could plug one of these things and get them to work. I think they're great devices. I made a video one time where I drop kicked one across my yard, and just to prove a point,
Uh-huh.
I drop kick the thing as hard as I could. The thing goes flying. I plug it back in. It works fine.
Mhm.
Another guy, one of the groups, he ran over it with his
Yep.
Tesla multiple
Yeah.
times. It's
I've
hilarious.
seen
Guy
that.
was
Yeah.
my drunken Canadian buddy. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Runs the thing over, does it again and again and again, kicks it in the snow, thing still works. And so
Mhm.
if you've got kids, you got pets, a cat that likes to push stuff off your desk or whatever the case is, you can't beat it because you're not going to break it unless you shoot it with a machine gun.
Mhm.
And I think for the price now, I mean, they started out there about $400. Now they're not $300. Now they're down to 200, and you just cannot beat it.
Yeah.
So Nano 3S all day. Not the most exciting. Can't do much in the way of modifications, but then of course you can do that stuff with something like a Duo. So those are
Right.
my picks for $300, hands down.
Perfect. Yep, and that's good because, like you said, you're getting those good units. It depends on what's your focus, what you're like, and you can get
Sure.
multiple terahash right off the bat for a good price, and that kind of
Right.
gets the needle in, right? It
All
gets the
right. Gets
needle in.
going.
Yeah. All right. So, a lot of your work involves adapting industrial mining equipment for residential environments. I've been seeing you
As
post
of
some cool
lately.
stuff. Yeah. What are the biggest engineering challenges involved in making that happen? Where's the part where you kind of sit there and scratch your head?
Well, right now, the biggest challenge is trying to make them cool enough and quiet enough. That's the big thing because getting these things, to modify a 240 miner to 120 is very easy. Shout out to Zach Baumstra. I put that how-to guide on X. I shared it on his website as well as how to take a APW12 and modify it to 120. It takes about 5 minutes. And God bless those guys that figure this stuff out because I'm not that smart. I would never been able to figure out how to do that. Identify which resistors are which and all that stuff
Mhm.
without some schematics and then of course, sharing it with everybody so we all know how to do it too. That stuff's all easy to do, but with things like the Avalon Q's got this massive heat sink in it. And so it doesn't require much airflow to keep it nice and cool. When you start doing that stuff with the amp miners, they're designed to have fans cranked up at 100% all the time. They live
Mhm.
in loud warehouses full of other miners. They've got these fans that were never designed to be quiet. They maximize airflow. And so trying to get these things to where they're suitable house guests, I guess I'll say, is the really challenging part. And so I have come up with an idea. I don't know if it's going to work or not. Where essentially I've designed this 3D component where I'm going to put four Noctua fans instead of I'm going to replace the two with four. I'm going to try to run four at like 1800 RPMs, and hopefully they're all running quietly enough to should theoretically move enough airflow to keep it cool. So
Oh, that's cool.
that's by far the biggest challenge that we're facing. But the cool thing is with something like an S21 or S21 XP is the one I'm building now, you can get these amazing hash rates and this efficiency that beats out the new Flueminer T3, beats out the Avalon Q. And so performance wise, it's awesome, but it's a matter of getting this thing to be quiet enough because I can't build and sell these things to people who don't want to have their wives like file a divorce.
Mhm. Right.
So we got to get the thing quiet. That's the number one challenge by far, but the rest is pretty easy. Anybody could do it.
That's cool. I'm excited to see what happens with that Noctua mod. If that works, that's gonna blow
Yeah.
my mind because that would be super awesome.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody actually be able to nobody's come up with a good solution for this. I do see some guys doing the inline fan route,
Mhm.
and that works pretty well. I mean, they're quiet enough, and you can certainly do things to quiet them, but it increases the footprint to where you have this like massive galactic space cannon looking device. And
Yeah,
where are you gonna put that unless again, you're like a bachelor somewhere and it doesn't matter. You just stick the thing in your living
doesn't
room and
matter. Yeah,
put
you're
it on
right.
display. Again,
Mhm.
for the average guy or a guy who's got to keep a wife and family happy,
Yeah,
that'd be like small and non intrusive.
exactly. Absolutely.
But these
So,
are cool. I think
yeah.
these are the wave of the future as far as home mining is concerned. A lot of stuff is getting cheaper, like the S19K Pros and all that stuff. And
Mhm.
what you can do with these now, from things like multi-pool, where you can mine 10 different coins at once. You can do all kinds of. You'll get 62 terahashes a second, and it's awesome. Good value too. $800. Can't beat that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like the S19s, like you're saying, I recently bought a pallet of used ones. Like, and I'm not a
Yeah.
rich guy, Ryan. I'm not, but the price was so good that I was
Yeah.
like, I can do this. And I'm not gonna turn them all on. It's not worth it right now. But I mean, I've had people that are like, "Can I get a couple of those from you?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, just pay me what I paid for it." Like, because they're like you said, you can get them anywhere. One guy just wanted it he wanted the hash boards out of it. He's like, "You could have everything else. I just want the hash boards
Yeah.
for the chips." I was like, "All right, cool."
Have you seen the that stealth miner? I think is super cool. It's got that 3D printed thing. It's got four fans on the top.
Mhm.
There's a bunch of guys I know that are building those now. So
Yeah. So much cool stuff out there in the mining space.
it is.
Yeah. So, piggybacking on this, what do you think is
Sure.
the harder problem to solve right now, the harder challenge to solve? Power, heat, or noise?
Um, that's a tricky one because they're all very similar. I think the heat one is easy enough. It's there are things that you can do by way of exhaust and all that. You can pipe heat out, so that's doable. With the power, I think some of that can be solved with things like using better chips. If you're using something like the S21 XP boards, when those things get cheaper, hopefully those will be kind of the new generation of Erlacher once the S23s come out.
Mhm.
And so, efficiency wise, that's going to really solve that high hash rate and a better efficiency problem. And so I guess ruling out the other things that really kind of makes noise, just keeping these things quiet to where it's something that you can run in your home without waking your kids up at night or whatever the case is. And so I have to go noise on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Because that's the challenge I'm facing right now.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Yeah, that's one of the main reasons why we turn things on. Well, I'm in Texas. Heat is always an issue. But like you said, I can punch a hole in my garage wall, hook up a dryer duct, and vent it outside. Not a big
Right.
deal. It's doable from a home DIY standpoint. But yeah, the noise is definitely always something, don't want to be
All
living
right,
on a
guys, quick shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, Altair Tech. If you've been thinking about getting into Bitcoin mining or scaling up your current operation, Altair Tech is who we use at Cinco Doggos Mining for our hardware. They're veteran Bitcoin miners, so they actually understand the equipment they sell. They ship fast from the central US, keep a large inventory of in-stock ASIC parts, miners, PDUs, and accessories ready to go. Whether you're starting small with something like an Avalon Nano 3S or scaling into the 200 plus professional mining rig range, Altair Tech has the gear to help you grow. And if you're new to mining, they offer free consultations to help you choose the right hardware and strategy. So head on over to altairtech.io and use discount code CINCO at checkout. That's altairtech.io, code CINCO. Altair Tech. Mine your independence and start stacking sats the sovereign way.
don't want to be living on a runway. Okay, so just jumping ahead to the next question. So we just finished talking about noise, heat, power. What are the biggest problems? The biggest challenges to solve right now.
Sure.
Um, moving on from that, you've been involved with the QAxe ecosystem and other open source mining projects. You know, you tinker with there, just I tinker with there. You do a lot more tinkering than I do. What excites you most about the current open source mining movement? I know we've kind of already touched on this, but like, is there anything that you see coming down the pipe that you're like, that's going to be
100%.
big?
Yeah. So my favorite things, my things that I'm watching right now are two things. So the Libra board, if you've seen that, there's a guy Schnitzel is working on this thing, and it's super cool. So it's a control board for Antwire. It's got a Raspberry Pi hat, and so it will essentially allow you to do a couple of things. Number one, even simple things like running a node. You have your own miner that runs its own node. It can do other things on top of that. But it will also allow you to do all sorts of interesting things in dashboards now. So you want to make yourself like a clothes dryer. You want to have a big time that you can heat from this to dry your clothes or use it as a furnace or whatever the case. You can now control this thing because it's been traditionally where, these things are pretty locked out. You can only do so much with whether that's the Bitmain firmware, Lux, brains, any of the other stuff. And so this combination of the Libra board and the Magina firmware, that will kind of be coupled with that, that's open source firmware that you can use for these. Those are by far the two most exciting things as far as I'm concerned, because they open the door for so many different things. And it's the leaderboard even looks cool. It's got this cool like Liberty Lady design on it, all this stuff, and it's just really cool. First time I saw photos of it, the videos that I've seen where this thing is in action, and I actually saw he put one together and took it to the Vegas convention, and it was battery powered. So you have like this whole thing running with a Bitaxe.
Saw that, yeah.
And he's taking this thing around, showing everybody, and the thing is powered by some sort of like some LiPo battery that you use for an FPV drone, something like that. But he had the whole thing like up and running. So they're still working on that. I don't know when the actual release of any of that stuff will be. I know it's still very much in progress. But I think those are the two biggest open source projects, especially because they will lead to tons of other open source projects that are coming. So,
Gotcha. Cool.
there's other devices. We got other stuff going. Guys are building 1373 monitors and some of that stuff, and all that's very cool. But those two, I think, are going to be most impactful as far as
Projects like the Bitaxe, QAxe, decentralization of mining. Where do you see it in like 5 years from now? Do you see like S19s are the new Bitaxe at that point? What do you think?
I have no idea. I think it's going to be something where, it's hard to really imagine, because to see where things have gone now, even from where they were a year or two ago, it's so drastically different. I think things like, better chips, all of a sudden these new chips that are coming out, these 1373 chips, in 5 years, those will be a couple of generations old, and God only knows what else will happen. And so I think we'll start to see these devices where we've got these very efficient. In 5 years, maybe we'll be able to control these things with our minds, like control the fan speed and all kinds of stuff. It won't be the cell phone anymore. It'll be just like the brain implant that's like, let's turn the fans up a little bit and cool this down. I think we'll start to see things like, again, higher efficiency, higher hash rate, things that are easier to use, because that's kind of where things are all trending. Things are just getting slightly better, but it's happening in a very quick pace. And so again, we're seeing that slightly better hash rate. We're seeing that improved efficiency. We're seeing the way that we interact with these things, where it used to be having 100 browser tabs open. Now we've got this app, like the Hashboard app, where we can sit and we can dial all this stuff in, and we can do absolutely everything that we need to do with our phones. And you don't have to have 100 browser tabs anymore. And at some point, something will replace that. And so I think everything's just going to get easier. And I think, we'll start to see these kind of dual purpose things where we're seeing devices that are not traditionally Bitcoin miners. Now they will be things like your dryer, things like your furnace, things like your water heater. And so we'll be able to interact and mess with those things. And of course, you'll get folks like my parents that would probably have a water heater that mines Bitcoin if it's like paying them back somehow. Right. It's enough for them to get interested. Why would you not want to run the one that pays you back? And then you're going to get me with the same thing, but I'm going to be out there ripping it apart and trying to tune it and max the hash rate out and get it to be more efficient and all that stuff. So I think it's only going to grow into different areas. And I think it's all just going to get better and better. So it just really depends on like what Bitcoin does, right? Like, so is Bitcoin going to be worth $1 million in 5 years? Is it going to come down to like 10 grand? I have no idea. But in any case, I think as long as Bitcoin's worth something, there's always going to be guys that want to play around with it because it's still fun to solo mine. Even if Bitcoin's worth $100, you still make $300, right? So there's always going to be guys like us that are tinkering with this stuff and doing it regardless. Of course, I'm very optimistic on Bitcoin, and I think it's going to be very high in 5 years. Fingers crossed. But I don't know. But in any case, I think this thing is going to just continue marching forward because there are so many people that are so passionate about it. And that's what's going to continue to drive it. These guys that are into this stuff, it's not like a once a week thing. It's like this thing they eat, sleep, and breathe. They're like playing with these things. They're on these groups, and it becomes like this like very primary focus of their lives. And it's happened for me, but it's happened for tons of other people too. And so we're all going to have something to do with that enthusiasm and that passion in the future. And I think it's just going to continue to grow these incredible things. So I'm glad I'm here for it. I can't wait to see what it turns into, but I don't think either of us have any idea what's coming. Just cool stuff.
I feel it. And it gets me excited how you're talking about it because I feel the same way. Like, just can't
Yeah,
wait to see
definitely.
what's next.
Exactly.
Awesome. So, just touched on this a little bit, and we're going to
Sure.
probably get into this a little more when we have our BlockFound episode, but you are
Yeah.
one of the creators behind Hashboard.
Yes.
Excuse me. You are one of the creators behind Hashboard. What problem were you trying to solve with that exists currently with mining dashboards that you felt like management tools that you felt like, man, maybe we could do this a little better?
I don't want to knock anything else. I was actually involved some with Hashwatcher, which is the most popular mining app right now. And I know Gabe very well. He's a good guy. We worked on that. I was the first beta tester, the first guy that promoted it. I contributed several ideas and things to that project. And I'm glad to see what it's turned into. I was like one of the first guys telling people, hey, use this. You can use this to like, control your Nano 3 fan speeds and do all this other stuff. And so I was kind of part of that. And so it felt very strange to like, it was like this weird betrayal because I wanted to go off and do my own thing. But I think, it wasn't about trying to necessarily compete with Hashwatcher. I just wanted to make something that was a little bit different. I wanted to do something that I really wanted to focus on making things easier for the people who got into this. There were several things where I knew that, guys were getting into the Bitaxe stuff and they were just like totally confused when it came to setting up the devices, picking a pool, the wallet management stuff. And so we wanted to try to make that as easy as possible. And then there's also this like very data nerd like itch I wanted to scratch because I love data. Like the more data, the better as far as I'm concerned. And so I wanted to create something that was kind of this mix between like the ultimate experience for data nerds where we have all of these things that we can see. And one of the things that was really interesting about this that we did is we incorporated these Matter smart plugs. And when we were doing the testing with this, I didn't realize how off the dashboard numbers are. And so we take the numbers that are on the like XOS dashboard as for instance, and we assume that that's really what our miner is consuming. And therefore that's really what the cost to run these devices. And when I tested like 25 different devices and I saw how all over the place it was, Avalon miners being the exception of that, I started to realize again, okay, there's something here because we can take this and incorporate it and we can pretty much know exactly. And these Matter smart plugs, they weren't designed for miners, but they work really well for this because they're designed to be run 24 hours a day with something plugged into them. Most miners are very low draw anyway. I wouldn't suggest putting like a monster miner with one unless you've got a 20 amp version of it.
Right.
But now I've got something where I'm seeing like within a fraction of 1% what my efficiency is and what my cost to run actually is. And so it was some of those things where we just wanted to take it kind of to the next level. And, again, there's some of this stuff is very preferential. So like you may prefer one to the other. I know Hashwatcher's got like spaceships and all kinds of stuff and Stranger Things and all that. And it's cool. Like I'm not knocking it. And so, personally, I run both just because I think it's cool. And like I think that I've actually got 3 mining apps on my phone right now, and I'll add a fourth if a fourth one comes out.
Yep.
And so again, not trying to like go throw away your Hashwatcher account,
no.
come over to the dark side or any of that stuff. But with us, again, I think, again, I'm very passionate about this stuff. And I just wanted to have something where we kind of had full creative control and you just kind of take it to this insane level. My partner or business partner, not my like relationship partner, but my business partner, Eric Mitchell, he's nuts. He works in like these like 24-hour bursts. And I'm like, I'll talk to him like on a, I'm like, you're still awake? Yeah, I haven't gone to sleep yet. Look what I've gotten accomplished. And he's like, remember that thing we talked about? And he's taking it like 10 steps further than we talked about. And so it's just been a really cool collaboration because, for a while I was working all day on it. And then he was up all night working on it. And so we had this like 24-hour effort that would overlap quite a bit. And so it was like this like 24-hour machine just cranking on this thing. And we've gotten a lot done, and I'm thrilled to see the way it's turned out, and I'm thrilled to see how many people are using it and liking it. And it's just awesome. Like you make something and suddenly like 2,000 people have it on their phones.
Hmm.
Um, that's awesome.
Right? What
So
a good feeling. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And hey, more data is better data, more apps, better apps. I mean, everyone. I don't see it as you guys, necessarily in competition with other things. Everything still builds the whole ecosystem we're in. It
Right.
complements each other, and it makes everyone strive to do better. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's Bitcoin in a nutshell.
No, I think again, it's the same thing with miners. Like, I have no problem with like multiple miners. I want to own several. And I think the apps are the same way. I think the more the better. And of course, some people are going to prefer like a NerdQAxe plus, where someone else is going to like the Nano 3S. Some people want to own both. And so, the more options for the community, I think it's always a good thing. And so that was kind of a big part of it. But that's kind of project one as far as all this goes. And now we're on to working on some other crazy stuff. So it's a wild ride.
That's cool. And I can't wait to talk about that more when we have both of you guys on. Hopefully,
Yeah, no, we won't get too deep into that.
Yeah,
Again, that would be like a whole hour just to get into half of
yeah, we
that stuff.
definitely
So,
want to deep dive that in the future episode.
for sure.
So moving on from that, so that we talked about Hashboard a little bit, kind of teased everybody about what we're going to talk about the next time.
Yeah.
So you have this background, and you've spent years. You work on you worked on your developer. You work on software. You work on hardware as well, doing things. I mean, you said you work on motorcycle motors. That's really cool. Where do you feel? Where do you feel your passion really lies? Is it in one more than the other?
Well, they're kind of this complementary thing because you can't really have one without the other. And
Fair.
so it's interesting, I think, when you are working on things like the monster miner for instance. I love the hardware side of it, but there's always this thing that you've got to figure out, and you've got to do like the tuning portion of it to get it to run well, and hash rate is stable and all that stuff. And so um there's this part of me though where I love to build stuff. Like it's ever since I was a kid, like I would get something and I would rip it apart, and then my parents would come in and like, what the hell did you do? And I'm like, I want to know how it works. And so I've always loved that, and I've been doing that my entire life. And so with these things, it's no different. Like there's this like childlike fascination, I think, in just tearing stuff apart to see its guts and see what makes it tick. And then putting it back together and making it work in a different way, I think is very fascinating. And so I think, I love that portion of it. But then, once that's done, again, having to get the thing to work somehow and work optimally, I think is equally fun. So kind of divided, but I just like to build stuff.
That's cool. And it's interesting that you're our 10th guest on this series, and you are the 8th guest to say something along the lines of, when I was younger, I like to take things apart, break it, and put it back
Yes.
together again. So there's a theme we've got going here with this.
Yeah, for sure. It's in all of our blood, I guess, for some reason. So
Yep. No,
well, otherwise,
it's-
why you wouldn't mess with this? You just go watch TV or something. You're not going to rip a bunch of stuff apart, but
exactly.
common theme.
Exactly. That's what's cool about it too. It's amazing how it strikes me. It strikes me funny, just every time I talk to people in the space, and I find this common ground that kind of is this thing with everybody. I love it. Love it. Okay, so when evaluating a mining device today, what metrics matter most to you beyond simple profitability calculations? Like, what are you looking at if you're thinking about adding something to your stable?
Well, that's all kind of changed because I think it's very different when you're talking in terms of like a desktop miner to, I started out with these tiny little miners. And so things like the Bitaxe, and that was kind of my first foray into all of this. Um, as of lately now, I've gotten into full scale commercial miners and having them hosted. And so the way that I look at those is much different. For instance, with the small devices, I'm after the hash rate because I'm using these to solo mine with, and I want the best chance at solo mining a Bitcoin block. And so hash rate is everything for me. I want, the biggest bang for my buck in a lot of ways. When we get into things like commercial miners, efficiency is everything, because if you've got this 500 terahashes a second, but you've got a 20 watts per terahash efficiency, then it's no good because obviously you're not going to be profitable at that. You're eating a ton of electricity and you're not going to turn a profit. And so efficiency is absolutely everything when you get into that game. And now I'm noticing I'm focused so much more on it. Like with the desktop miners, who cares, right? Because when you're talking about a 25-watt device,
Yeah.
the difference in 10% is nothing. You're talking 2.5 watts. But when you're talking about a 3600-watt device, or 20 of those 3600-watt devices, 10% now is a huge number.
Yep.
And so it varies greatly. But again, small devices is going to be the hash rate all day. Big devices, efficiency is absolutely everything. So But some of that stuff has changed too. I mean, obviously efficiency is important and it's important no matter what you do. But I think hash rate rental has changed things so much for large scale miners
Mhm.
because it used to be entirely based on what the Bitcoin price was. Now I have machines that I rent out to people. I rent them out for 25% more than I would make, mining Bitcoin. And then they automatically switch over to solo mining Bitcoin, which I should probably just use them to pool mine if I were smart. But I want to satisfy that lust,
Yep.
the Bitcoin block. And so, for a few days out of the month, they're chasing a solo block. And for the rest of the time, someone else is probably using them to chase some sort of solo block, whether that's Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin. It's out of my hands.
Mhm.
But that's changed a lot for guys getting into that stuff. And so it's cool. It's interesting to see. And it's just changed the landscape as far as, again, I never thought in a million years I would have like this fleet of ant miners cranking away somewhere and this massive hash rate. And my goal at first was like, I want to get to 10 terahashes. No, I want to get to 100. Now I want to get to 1,000. Now I'm like pushing for 10,000, and it's after that I'm sure I'll want to go for 100,000.
Right.
So it's interesting the way that happens.
Yep.
And
No.
even then, I won't be satisfied. I won't be satisfied.
Mm-mm.
So
No, you're right. Yeah,
we'll see.
you chase that, level. I did the same thing. You start off with something small, then you're like, you hit that 100 terahash the first time, and you're like, this is
Yeah.
cool. And then you're like, how could I add more? And then you hit like for me, it was then I hit a petahash, and I was like,
Right.
that now my goal is 5 peta. Like it just incrementally starts. And I'm always looking. I'm always going to my Chat GPT. Okay, what do I need to do? What can I cut? How could I live on ramen and will my wife not kill me and I can get another S21?
Right.
Always doing the calculations, but you're right. Constantly chasing that dragon, man. Constantly
That's the way it
chasing.
goes. As it's not the worst dragon to chase, though.
There's
This
worse.
is absolutely much
Sure.
worse. So
Yep.
this one's acceptable. My wife sometimes she's on the phone the other day with a friend, and the UPS guy pulls up. She's like, "Looks like Ryan bought another Bitcoin computer." I'm like, not a Bitcoin computer. Okay, I guess the Node is, but
Right. Hey, whatever.
she loves it.
Yeah, that's my wife's the same way. She knows it's like sometimes we'll have like, the old trick of the unplug the dryer, plug in the S19 type of thing. And
Yeah.
if I'm running one here testing something or whatever, and she'll be like, "Hey, there's thunderstorms coming. You might want to go unplug the S19." And the fact that my wife is saying that to me, it's just so hot. That's such a nerd
I
thing.
get it, man. I get it.
Oh, so okay, we're gonna start wrapping up here. We've been kind of going with this for a little bit. I don't want to keep
Yeah,
you all
yeah.
day. So couple questions here, and then we're gonna hit the lightning round. So first off,
Sure.
if you could wave a magic wand and solve one problem facing home Bitcoin mining today, what would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say cost per terahash. That's the big one, and that's the
Okay.
one I hope we're going to solve the most. And I'm hoping that with things like the 1370, the BM 1370 getting cheaper as the S23s come out, and hopefully the availability of the new chips starts to increase.
Mhm.
I hope we'll start to see devices like Gecko Science has the K box, other things like that, where we're using more BM 1370s, and we're just seeing that cost per terahash come down because my big thing, obviously I love to mine, but I'm very big into the idea of decentralizing mining. Whether that's like this pipe dream crazy goal, like I love it and I want to like support that as much as possible. And I think that is to do that, mining needs to be affordable and it needs to be accessible and easy for people to get into. And a lot of that starts with, again, just cheap. It's got to be inexpensive to some degree because at one point, a Bitaxe Gamma was a couple $100s, and we're
Mhm.
talking a couple $100 per terahash, which it's very difficult to decentralize mining in this economy at $200 per terahash. So I like to see it get down to like $20 or less, something to where, and again, that's we're ways off
We're
from
getting
that.
there. I mean, it's
We are
60 to
getting there.
$70 right now is what I'm
We're
seeing.
getting there fast,
Mhm.
exactly. So it's I think that's the biggest one, and I'm starting to see that. And I think again, that kind of combined with some other devices where we just have a few more of those chips in there. They're getting them to be efficient enough where they're not taking 1,000 watts to run. That's the thing that I would like to solve, and that is being solved. But if I could solve that today, that'd be the
Oh,
one.
that'd be it. Get the wand out. No, I totally agree with you. All right, looking 3 to 5 years down the road, where do you hope to see Karpuz mining?
That's a great question. I mean, so Karpuz mining is kind of folding into the new business. It's always going to stay a thing, so I'm never going to abandon that because it's got this like sentimental thing and this attachment to my family and background and all that
Sure.
stuff. Um, you know, I just want to continue to have more of an impact in the space, and I want to continue to build things that have an impact in this space. And so, when it started all out, it was just these were like fan adapters and like power supply covers and things like that I was making. And now I'm venturing into things like building home miners that hopefully will up for sale soon. And um, I have so many ideas and so many things that I would like to do that have not been done yet. And so, really just kind of fleshing those ideas out and making those things a reality. I think, again, just continuing to use what we have available, whether that's the chips that are out at the time or whatever the case is, to just make cool stuff. That's what I want to do. I want to make cool stuff.
It's awesome. I can't wait to see it. I say this with a number of our guests, but it's the theme. These people that are in this type of I don't know, this ecosystem we have, that there's a lot of these things that are very common that we see. Entrepreneurialism, decentralization, tinkering, complete nerds. We're all complete nerds.
Definitely.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I just have this feeling in 5 years, I'm going to look back at everyone that I've talked to this year on this series of these people we're talking to, like yourself. And I'm just going to see these awesome projects that have come about after we've talked. And I'm so excited for that for you. So
Thank you. Yeah, I think so. I know so many people who are working on things right now, and it's just the intelligence that people have and the talents that people have. It's unbelievable. And that was kind of the thing that just really drew me into some of this in the beginning, just to see these people, and they're all around the world too, just dedicating their time to. They could be doing anything, and they're like screwing around for hours and hours and hours trying to make a Bitcoin miner slightly better. And I love
Right.
it. So
So
it's
cool.
we'll accomplish some cool stuff together. I'm certain of that.
Yep. It's neat. Okay, lightning round, then we're going to wrap up.
Let's do it.
Best home miner currently available.
The monster miner, man. Monster miner is the best miner. It's the most efficient and the most powerful home miner that exists. It's one of the loudest, but it's currently the best. I'd say probably that. The Avalon Q is a close second. I think that's a fantastic device. It's very quiet. It's the form factor is great. It's very good cost per terahash, and so that's going to be the close second. Either that or one of the amp miner stuff. The Aerolacquer is great too. I love that for the three. So, but I'm going to go with Monster Miner if I can only pick one. It's the best.
Right on. What's the monster miner hitting at right now?
The Monster Miner will go up to 120 terahashes per second, but it'll do it at 13 watts per terahash.
Yeah.
So that's the exciting part of it. I don't run it at that high. I tend to run it at about 95. And I can do that at 1200 watts or so. So it's, that's the thing that's exciting about it.
That's nice.
And yeah, it's wild.
That is really nice. All right, cool. We kind of talked about this a little while ago, but
Sure.
Most underrated miner.
Most underrated, I'm gonna have to go back to the Nano 3S.
Okay.
It's just a great little device, and seeing how tough it is, it's just like this unsung hero, this like super cool, super tough little miner that doesn't get any excitement or attention because there are no stands for it, there are no mods for it. You can change the LED colors, like that's the extent of what you can do. But it's a great little device, and again, it's excellent for someone getting into this. It's excellent for someone who wants to add some hash rate to their fleet, even if you've done this for a while. And so by far, Nano 3S, it's a great miner.
I mean, you could have a kid in a dorm room, have that on the shelf. Nobody's going to really know what it is, so they won't care.
Give it to your 8-year-old.
Exactly.
Give it to whoever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's a great device.
Cut your hands off with your fingers off if you go touching the fan.
Exactly, right?
So.
You're not worried about, weird things happening with it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. If you had to pick one, the old desert island, right? You're on a desert island.
Sure.
If you had to pick one, solo mine or pool mine?
Oh, that's tough. How much hash rate are we talking? I'm a solo miner by heart. I love the solo mine. It's awesome.
It's kind of on that too.
Such a waste. I know it's like such a lottery type thing, like this like lottery addict, gambling addict mentality. But it's the thing that really got me excited about this. And I think it's the thing that gets so many other people excited about it. And whether I'm wasting my energy or not, I'm still contributing to the network the same way. So it doesn't really matter. And it's, for me, I think that's just this really exciting aspect of it.
I feel you.
It's smarter to pull mine, but even again, with my large commercial miners, for the most part, I rent them out. But when I'm not, I'm solo mining with those because I like to see them go online. I like to see my solo hash rate spike up. And I've got this dream. I just want to get one solo Bitcoin block. I want to take the block height, put the huge like neon sign, whatever the number is, and just plaster it in my office, maybe even get like a tattoo. Who knows?
I would.
And so it's this like goal just to be part of like the Bitcoin blockchain history.
Mhm.
Just getting that one block on my node with my miners. That's my goal. So
I
solo,
feel you.
100%.
I do that too. Like I'll take my pool miners, and once in a while, like after a difficulty adjust
Yeah,
drop, I'll throw them for a couple days, and I'll throw everything towards solo for a little bit, because my goal is
sure.
I really would love to see Cinco Doggos mining pop up in the mempool at some point,
It'd be
because I
great.
might
Yeah,
do
absolutely.
datum, so I would like to see that pop up.
I've got Karpuz pool, so yeah, I'm hoping it'll. I'd love to see it on my device here. I got a Bitaxe Touch Turbo, so I'm watching mempool all the time, a little touch screen, and yeah, that's my dream.
I
Karpuz
feel you.
pool. We'll get there, man. We'll get there.
I'm telling you. All right, air cooled, hydro cooled, or immersion?
Oh, 100% hydro. I've got air cooled stuff. It's the best value right now. So the S21 XP is currently the best value in the game, hands down. But the cool thing about hydro is you've got a couple of things. Number one, you've got that totally even cooling of the chips. So that's awesome. But it's also sealed off from the elements. So you're not getting this dusty air that blows inside of it. You're not getting bugs or other crazy stuff getting sucked into the machine or anything like that, cooking on the
Mhm.
hash boards. And so I think hydro is the wave of the future. Immersion stuff's such a pain to mess with.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of fading out big time.
Hmm.
Um, the hydro stuff, especially the new Bitdeer, the Seal Miner, the A4 Hydro. That's a beautiful machine. The A3 Pro Hydro model is awesome.
Hmm.
If I had it my way, I would have I'd probably have everything at Wilson Mining because they do hydro
They're
stuff.
good guys. Yeah.
Absolutely awesome guys. Yeah, I'd just have a full hydro setup just because I think they look great and they're great devices.
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to wrap up. I
Sure,
appreciate you doing this, but before we do,
sure
go
thing.
ahead and do me a favor. Just kind of
Yeah,
throw your socials out there. And then once we do that, anything you think I missed, the floor will be yours. So tell people where they can find you, and then anything else you'd like to
sure.
talk about before we close up.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much Karpuz Mining on everywhere. So Karpuz Mining. That's I'm on X, Facebook, Instagram as Karpuz Mining. I'm at Ryan Blass on YouTube. Um, I've got karpuzmining.com. Pretty much anywhere you type Karpuz Mining, that's where I'm going to be.
Gotcha.
So we've got karpuzmining.com. We got all kinds of free STL files to download. If you want to download some stuff, we got some deals on some miners and some other cool stuff on there. So check it out if you want some free stuff or a deal on an Avalon Q or Erlacher, any of that stuff right there. And that's what's going on.
Right on. Yep. Yeah. And it's an easy to navigate, clean website. So got
Pretty
everything.
basic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a new website in the works. So this one's needs an overhaul, but I've avoided it just because we've got another one that we're working on in the background that's going to kind of take its place soon. So
Okay.
more on that to come.
I like your Meanwell enclosures, by the way. I like that design.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to find a way that my kids weren't going to climb on my desk and shock their fingers off. And so
Exactly.
that kind of came from all that.
Fair enough. All right, great. So before we shut it down, anything
Sure.
that you think I forgot to ask, or any other topics you want to bring up, anything you want to tease?
No, really just a huge shout out to the guys at Altair. I think, those guys have been awesome. A shout out to a lot of people. I mean, there's so many people in this space that are so into this stuff and who support builders like me and provide parts for us and advice for us and things like that. And Altair's been awesome. They've been very supportive of the things that I've done. Tiny Chip Hub's another one. They've been just amazing as far as sending me stuff and sending me schematics and all kinds of crazy stuff to play around with. And um, just so many people that I appreciate that have had some sort of involvement in the things that I'm doing or plan to do, whatever the case is. And it's such like a takes a village kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's so many cool people that are part of the village. And it's just such a pleasure and privilege to be a part of.
Yeah, I love it. I feel you. It's a good way to put it. Takes a village. I'm happy to be the village idiot. My job is just walk around and talk to y'all. So that's what I do. But I really do agree with you. There's a lot of great people in this space, and it's cool connecting with them. I'm glad you and I got to connect.
Yeah, for sure.
Would love to have you back on in like 6 months, kind of talk
Sure.
about, see what's new, what's going on then. But
Absolutely.
before that, like I said, it's either going to be next week or the week after. We're
Cool.
going to be back with you and Eric. You said your partner's name is, right?
Yep.
Eric Mitchell, we'll be back with you guys. We're going to talk about BlockFound. We'll go over that stuff and we'll get into that more in depth. So that way we
Awesome.
can kind of get a focus on that. So yeah, man, really
Yeah, we got some
appreciate
cool
it.
stuff going on.
Fantastic. All right.